very warm welcome to this technical session. It is theme under the Governance and Financing for Inclusive and Climate Resilient Watch. I am Upasna Yadav. I am Senior Program Lead at Center for Water and Sanitation, and I will be chairing this session today. So today's discussion lies at the heart of the very important challenge in the watch, that how do we make the governance and financing more inclusive, accountable, and resilient. So we have a 5 presentation across the Indian as well as African countries. And so the house rules are, I'll give the brief introduction of each speaker, and the speaker will have a 10 minutes to present, and then we'll have a 5 minutes of question and answer round. Okay, so let's begin. So our first presentation is titled Local Governance and WASH Priorities, a comparative analysis of Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka, reflection from praxis. It will be presented by Ms. Shanthi Maduresan. उनका वो कर दो ना bio. So Ms. Shanthi is working as a Senior Executive Officer of DHAN Panchayat Development Program. She is based in Madurai and has 3 decades of experience in strengthening the grassroots institutions and empowering the rural community. She holds a master's degrees in rural economics and extension education from the Gandhigram Rural University, and also has completed the management education program at IIM Ahmedabad. She combines the practice of research, practice and management to promote inclusive, sustainable and self-reliant rural development. So I welcome Ms. Shanthi.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So my presentation on local governance and WASH priority, mainly the comparative, yes, 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 yes. Then I can use it in this. Okay. Yeah, I can use this. Okay, no problem. I can. Okay, right. So now the water and sanitation, it is not merely a technical one. It's mainly very fundamental background of human dignity, public health, and economic productivity. So access of the safe water and sanitation directly relate with the quality of life. That is the thing we have to take it. It is aligned with the macro goal, SDG goal on 6, 5, and 3. So here, just taking the 3 aspects of governance, policy convergence, and community action. There are 3 aspects. We are doing the comparative study in 3 village panchayat. One in Karnataka, see, okay. One in Karnataka, the old one they are putting it. I gave a revised one. Can I put it, the revised one in my pen drive is there? Yes. Already we gave that today morning they told. So there are 3 village panchayat, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, Kilkudi, Chinnakanal and Devarkanal, 3 village panchayat we are selecting for 3 aspects. The executive summary of this study, before that I shared with you. One is the achieving 100% wash sanitation is stalled. Mainly the governance and technology mismatch. That is the thing. If you look at state struggle to transition from asset creation to service delivery. So it's nothing but capital expenditure. That asset creation is the capital expenditure and the service delivery operational expenditure. So here the central government is providing the funded mainly for wash and sanitation construction. That is the focus, the top-down approach. But here the problem is the panchayat level, the president is not in a position to take it because they don't have a power. That is the thing. And they could not able to do the expenditure as a maintenance. That is also. And people participation also is a question. So that is a mismatch. So the functionality is a very big gap. So here for an example, for taking this Jal Jeevan mission, for that 10% of the money has to be provided to by the community. But what happened, the state government has adjusting their subsidies into this. So people are not having the ownership. There are 3 state paradigms. We found this study, there are 3 paradigms. One is the efficiency paradox. See, this is mostly applicable for the Kerala state. In this, we know very well in Kerala, there is a very powerful panchayat system is there. They have a power. They have a financially also have a power. But the problem is technical. Technical problem because of drain, the water they could not able to do it. Tamil Nadu, that is the different kind of problem. That is the dependency trap. Dependency trap in the sense, the state government directly provide the scheme through toward board organization, so that here the panchayat is on dependency. So that is the problem, because actually the state government on their own through toward board they are spending, they put a borewell, high powerful borewell, so electricity charge have to be paid by the panchayat. So that is the drain. Third one is fragmented trap. The Karnataka state is entirely different. Jilla Parishad is taking entire responsibility of planning and execution. That is the issue. So the village need not known to the district panchayat. So that is the problem. So overall defunct asset and heavy spending on repairs. So how the governance architecture is there related to this the central scheme and the state reality. Mainly the Kerala, the JJM funds, very good planning, people planning process is pakka, systematic. So they are integrated with their own budget plan itself, they are integrating. But in Tamil Nadu, they could not able to do it. They are the recipient mode. Whatever they are doing, after completion, they will hand over to panchayat. So there is a recipient mode. So everything is centralization. In Karnataka, the Jilla Parishad entirely have a roadmap, mainly mismatch. Maybe for an example, dried borewell also is there, but at the same time, Jilla Parishad is doing entire tap connection to entire households. What happened? What happened? Nothing will happen. So that is the thing. Next one is operational maintenance issue. There are 2 issues. Critical issue is the funds are drained, already I mentioned. The repair, Karnataka state, nearly 65% of the money is spent for repair only. So they should not think about the sanitation kind of things. And Tamil Nadu also mainly focusing on paying bill for electricity. So there is a two issue is there. So they could not able to think of new aspects. So policy level gap in relevance to the maintenance, how it is. So 15th Financial Commission is provided the fund. So this fund is misinterpretation. Already I mentioned it's for the funds drained, high cost paying and repairing, that is one aspect. Second is the grant interpretation, it's permission to build new structure, but it is not happen, which means it is a old one has to be ignored, which means old maintenance, they could not able to do it, please. And water and sanitation, that's the two elements. But water, drainage they are focusing, but sanitation, which means the solid waste management, they ignored. So within that, the ignore is also is there for solid. Only 7% of the budget. That is the thing. And related to the community institution. Morning also, many keynote address, many people are talking about this. Especially for Karnataka. For doing this water and sanitation, they have Harita Karma Sena. And they are also having a green army. So collecting waste from door to door, that is also doing. So here very interesting thing is, they collected the fee for each households. So here it is, sometimes people will think of, oh, this is a tax kind of things. But this is the user fee. So any time any people can ask the questions, why you are not doing this. That kind of accountability it also is there. So that is in Kerala, the sustainable own source revenue could be done, which means we can expect the sustainability could be happen for water and sanitation aspects. But in this Tamil Nadu, it's a informally it is happen. Mainly the self-help groups, like in DHAN Foundation, we have Kalanjiam program kind of things. We are reaching 35 lakhs people in all over the country. This in 17 states. So here, now the mindset is changing for the SEG people. Okay, in Panchayat. So if there is any problem is there, immediately they sit together and they will also come forward to do the task. That kind of things also is there. And in Madurai, even their agreement with the Panchayat, and they are also anchored. That is one kind of things. Another kind of things with the CSR, some of the community toilet kind of things are there. In the sense, the SAG is taken care of the community toilet. That is the thing. So, yeah, already she said. So this is the Panchayat Advancement Index. The Rural Development and Panchayat Raj Ministry is coming out with the Panchayat Advancement Index. 526 indicators. So that is the assessment, and we are also did this. So for that, this Kilkudi, the Tamil Nadu and Kerala is somehow 64 and 62 scores, and the Karnataka is a very less score. So overall, what are all the parameters we have this ranking in a southern state? One is autonomy to plan and spend, physical decentralization. The Kerala is number 1, and Tamil Nadu 3, and Karnataka 2. Related to operational and maintenance efficiency, again the Kerala 1, and the Tamil Nadu 2nd, and Karnataka 3. Related to sanitation focus, number 1 Kerala, Tamil Nadu medium, and Karnataka 3. So community role, that also the same kind of things. And financial sustainability also, the rank number 1 is Kerala. So this is what the ranking. And the strategy, green strategy, It's mainly what the suggestion is. Central government also is having the solarization investment oriented kind of scheme is there. We need to utilize. That is the thing. And the CSR also, in the, suppose if they are not able to get it from the state government, we could go for CSR, and the MGNRA also, labor also can be utilized. So these are all the things. And another one important thing is 50%, 30% of the fund has to be utilized for only for solid waste management. That kind of recommendation we have to give it to the government. And definitely every family, every households have to be pay a fee. That kind of things has to be come, then only it will be do it. So this is already I shared in each state what kind of aspect to be focused. So these are all the initiative we did for the WASH, especially in relating with the Gram Seva program of SBI Foundation. So ultimately our conclusion is we need to the coverage, 100% coverage with 100% functionality. That is the way we need to conclude. So we have the recommendation for government, communities and corporate also. For the time constraint, I could not able to explain all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think really interesting perspective that where certain gram panchayats have funding but lack technical capacity, and where certain gram panchayat don't have the funding only. So this is now open for the question and answers. We will take 2-3 questions together and then ask ma'am to answer. Yeah. So please raise your hand if you have any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is about Watch Village Committee. Based on your experience and your reflection, what could motivate this committee to the sustainability of their services and their role as the for the strengthening their work in the community? Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Pankaj, and you mentioned that Kerala is number one in financial stability
Yes.
and in solid waste also.
Yes.
I wanted to ask in terms of solid waste that how is the rating or ranking done? Like what factors or measures are taken?
Okay. Okay.
So, hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, you were speaking about Karnataka, how its governance is fragmented.
Yes.
Recently in Bangalore, they have decided to combine all the governance bodies into one body, which is the GB,
Mm.
which has been implemented since last year.
Mm.
What are your views on it? Do you think it's going to make betterment of the governments, that it's going to help out more, or is it going to
Okay.
cause any deficit?
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Can I?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Please.
my question is, you mentioned that there is a high fiscal devolution in Kerala.
Yes.
So can you just list out few practices, or mostly just like you mentioned, like own source revenue through Greenway,
Yes.
Green Army. So any more practices so that we can take references from that?
Okay. Can I answer? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for your questions. The first question, Saris asked about the 1 minute. You are talking about working group. So the working group actually in because the panchayat is a state subject actually. So every state government has to take decision on this kind of working committee, especially in Kerala. It is well versed because the one Kudumbasri, one of the organization, that organization is enable the people. So they could understand well, and even especially for water and sanitation, the people planning process was done. So entire ward members and the panchayat president is taking on their own responsibility. That is one. Second one is SSG group members also have a more ownership on it. So for that, the working group, they themselves coming out with the green army. So which means they have to collect the waste from door by door. So from that also the segregation is happened. From that also earning is happened. So that is the very good atmosphere in Kerala. But Tamil Nadu working group, it is a suggestive mode only. It is not a mandatory. Even if you ask who are all the working group members, there are 5 committee. Salary committee is different. 4 committees are there. Health committee, water committee, working group committee, education committee. All the committees are there. But if you are asking the panchayat president what he said, why you are asking this? That is the question. Second one is, name for the name's sake, who are all the women group members, without their, they don't know we are in committee. But the committee members are available, existing in the panchayat president office. Okay, so working committee is for namesake. That is the Tamil Nadu. But in Karnataka, in the panchayat itself, already I mentioned, village level health committee is there. But it is not operating, because maybe the committee is there, but the entire operation is done by the district level panchayat. Village level, there is no connection at all. That is the problem. I am talking about only panchayat, not in a urban kind of things. Okay. Second question, measurement indicators. See, this is actually morning also many people are talking about the indicators, measurement, how do they do it. Do you know one thing? There are 2 websites. You just go on that. If you want to know your own panchayat, suppose you are coming from rural background, you just go and watch the Gram Manchitra. That is the website. You just put to a state, your district, block, will the panchayat name. Then automatically it will come out with Andodya review. Andodya review, that also not now, year is 2026, but they are put in 2019. There are 29 departments are there. Each department, there are 3 different color, green, orange and yellow. So what is the status? So like that way they are putting, that is one thing. And another important thing is, I saw the panchayat advancement index. The panchayat ministry is coming out with a different kind of things. Entire SDG goal, they are converting into 19s. Poverty free panchayat, health free panchayat, water sufficiency panchayat, clean and green panchayat. So like that way there are 7. If you calculate all those things, 526 indicators. Who put it the marks? That is the question. Here I put it 75 mark, 65 mark, 62 mark. Then here they are mentioned very clearly in the bottom side of the note. It is given by the panchayat clerk. That is the thing. So whether it is correct or not, who will validate? That is the question morning. Very interesting discussion. Who is validating this score? That is the problem. If really it's a A, really it's a B, that is the question. We have to live with that. That's what. We have to live with it. How we have to do it. That's what in the people planning process, what we are saying is, before doing the people planning process, we have to do the situation analysis. Situation analysis of the block with the panchayat, we have to ask with the community. That is the first priority number 1. That is the second thing. Yes. Otherwise, we can have a discussion with the individual, one-to-one individual we can have. Anytime we can discuss with us. We are working with the panchayat president and ward members and all. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Benny Feluma. He is going to present on the Resilient by Design, Strengthening Governance and Financing Pathways for Inclusive WASH System. Benny has a WASH and public health practitioner based in Lusaka, Zambia. Has an experience in sanitation system strengthening, community engagement, and knowledge management. He is currently working as a project assistant with the CADEC Catalyst Development and supporting the implementation of urban and community-based WASH initiative. Over to you, Benny.
Thank you so much. Namaste, India. Exactly. So we'll get right into business. Well, my presentation today is on strengthening governance and financing pathways for inclusive WASH systems. So to get underway, I'll start with the introduction and the context of my research. Well, Zambia's peri-urban area face persistent WASH inequities. Informal settlements remain underserved, exposing residents to health risks. Climate shocks such as floods, droughts magnify fragility of already existing weak systems. As we can see in our picture there, that is our capital, Lusaka. And just as I was leaving my country, this is a situation happening right now. So after heavy rainfall, we have such situations in places such as Kanyama and Chazanga areas. The overall message that we have is that business as usual, perpetual inequities, transformation is urgent. So what do we mean in a nutshell? Well, the weak systems have led to such incidences where we are having a lot of citizens, a lot of people in such undeserved communities to be at risk of contaminating water-borne diseases. Now, we come to the aim of the study. What is the aim of the study? The aim of the study is to advance citywide inclusive sanitation, planning, and implementation. Another thing is to strengthen governance and financing frameworks for equitable service delivery, embed climate resilience and community ownership into WASH systems. What is our goal in the study? Well, our goal is to position Zambia as a leader in inclusive climate resilient sanitation. And as you can see in the image on the right side, that depiction clearly shows our research which was being conducted during the BMGF project on fecal sludge management. So we had to collect data with regards to what happens in these communities. Now, what are some of our research objectives? The first one is to synthesize global community WASH inclusive sanitation and governance evidence, to assess service delivery in informal settlements, identify institutional gaps and accountability challenges, analyze financing mechanisms for vulnerable populations, examine community participation and ownership. We shall delve much into this research as we continue to discuss. The other research objective that we have is integrate climate resilience into WASH planning and investment. Government realities. Government realities, we mean fragmented institutions that weaken accountability and coordination. Executive decisions often lack scrutiny and transparency. Local governments under-resourced and overstretched. So in a nutshell, governance is the backbone of inclusive WASH, and without it, financing and infrastructure fail. So what do we mean? Well, for this system to be initiated, we have what we call institutional frameworks. These institutional frameworks come from a good governance. So in the institutional frameworks, we have what we call the roles and responsibilities as well as the entire process. Then from there, we come to what we call the policies. So now, these policies, we find decision makers. We find people that hold accountable to these decision makers. And after this stage, we also have what is called an action plan. What is an action plan? With an action plan, this is where we find resources. In an action plan, we also find specific set goals. We also realize that there's a timeline that we have to achieve certain things in order for the government to be successful. And all in all, it has been discovered that we have many policies, but we rarely act on the policies that we have. We have 1 billion policies in Zambia, for instance. And I'll mention the one policy that I'll mention is the, where's my book? Okay, the project fund management. This is an institutional. Thank you so much. So what one of the institutional frameworks that we have is actually the Public Finance Management Act. So in this Public Finance Management Act, we have a policy that is the National Water Policy. So now how can the government improve on such a policy? Well, of course we have a policy, but how best can they actualize this policy in order for them to help these marginalized communities? Well, they can take proactive measures to plan and increase access to clean water in rural areas with specific timelines and resources. And this is a major story. Let me just say, for this research, the elephant in the room, action planning. We are so poor at action planning. We can have these institutional frameworks, we can have these policies all in place, but who is going to do the work? So this is where we need to hold hands. No wonder the insight there shows that governance is a backbone of inclusive WASH, because in governance, that's where all the decisions are made. And government is the biggest major stakeholder in our country. And as you can see on the right side, those are the pictures where we had a meeting, a deliberate meeting with some of the stakeholders that we met with. Others came from different countries. So we had to see better ways in which we can make these policies come to life. Now, we come to some of the financing challenges. So we have a current mechanism bypass informal settlement. We have chronic underinvestment and inequitable cost sharing, reliance on informal providers, which increases risks of contamination. And in this aspect, when you come to our capital city, Lusaka, 60% of Lusaka's population lives in informal settlement, yet they only receive less than 10% of WASH investments. Now, another statistic that we have is that 70% of fecal waste in Lusaka is untreated, which later leads to contaminating water sources as well as polluting underground water. And only 30% of the urban poor have access to safely managed sanitation. This has led to 80% of non-urban poor only being deprived of the resources that the government can produce. Zambia at the moment needs 3.4 billion annually to achieve water security by 2030, but the current funding gaps exceed 50%. So which simply shows that we are lagging behind with regards to finances. So now the key message that we have is that financing must be inclusive, innovative, and climate linked to reach the most vulnerable. Fast forward, we go to community participation. So what do we mean community participation? We want to bring ownership to the people. We have areas like Kanyama and Chazanga households that have really been deprived of some of the government resources that would have been channeled to improve the sanitation aspects. We also have feedback systems that can strengthen accountability, service, and responsiveness. So our overall message is that communities are the core architects of resilience and not passive beneficiaries, so they need to be involved. We now go to risks. Like I earlier mentioned, we have floods right now in Lusaka. So very soon in October, we shall have droughts. And also fragile infrastructures. So normally when we experience heavy rainfalls, the houses collapse. So that's how bad the situation is. So now the 4-phase resilience cycle, the first one we have assessing risks, identifying adaptive options, deliver solutions, and monitor progress. And the overall message that we have is that resilience must be mainstreamed into WASH planning, not treated as an afterthought. That is the vulnerability mapping that we have, and these are some of the affected areas that we have in our capital city, Lusaka, Zambia. So circular economy models, we can have waste transformed into energy, fertilizers and jobs, sustainable sludge management that can reduce contamination and environmental risks. And that is what we're able to see. We're able to see black soldier flies that are being reused on our picture on the other end there. So these are some of the circular economic models that we are implementing in Zambia. At the moment, they are just at pilot phase. So governance and finance dynamics. So that picture depicts the regulators that we have, their role, the service providers, the finance aggregators, property owners. And the overall message that we have is that inclusive sanitation requires fair cost sharing and transparent governance. Now, let us just run through the key insights quickly. There we see that governance gaps weaken accountability and equity. Finance must be prioritized, especially in informal settlements. The overall message that we have is equity, resilience, sustainability, and coverage. From the recommendations that you are able to see on the screen, strengthen local governance, a call for action that we can take as a country is transform vulnerability into opportunity and ensure no community is left behind. With that being said, I end my presentation here and I'll call for questions. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Arya. I have a question. So, the CWIS, yeah. So, for the CWIS, how do you ensure that the community participation is kept over time? And like, what all compensatory benefits to the people or the community who's participating for the program are to be given, or is that mandated on the citizens? Like, how the inclusivity of CWIS works overall, and how do you ensure that the community participation is kept over time, like for a longer period?
Okay, so thank you so much. So currently at the moment we have policies that govern the way we are supposed to take a community approach. And at the moment the government is ensuring that the local stakeholders, rather the local authorities, are working hand in hand with the community players. So what happens normally is that we have leaders in these communities, and these leaders, upon receiving certain complaints, take them to the local authorities. And the local authorities proactively report to the next stage, then the next stage, and just like that. So it's so dependent on the leaders that we have in the community to report such issues promptly to the next stage. Okay, some of the challenges that I see is that, for example, we have organizations that may go out in the community to look for, maybe if they have a project to work on, so what they will do is they will not involve the local players, the community members themselves. For example, when it comes to installing of pumps, they would rather install a pump without telling for example, we have what we call chiefs back in our country. So those chiefs are supposed to be the formal center of communication. So when they bypass those chiefs and they start probably maybe installing that local pump, what is going to happen in the next year? That pump will be destroyed. But if they take active measures to engage the main chiefs, the chiefs will call for all the community members to participate, right? So once all the community members are aware, they send people to inform them, they teach them on how to use these pumps. Then from there, trust me, that pump will last more than 5 to 10 years. So the secret only lies between involving the community leaders in any community. You identify them, then you talk to them. Upon talking to them, you collaborate. Then later on, they will be disseminating that information to their other members.
Thank you, Benny, for the very insightful presentation. We now welcome Mr. Sujoy Chaudhury. Mr. Sujoy Chaudhury is co-founder of Center for Sustainable Solution, a non-profit working on action research mode with focus on rural communities in low elevation coastal zone to strengthen science-based society interface. He has over 3 decades of experience in development sector spanning national and international geographies. Today he is going to speak on the topic of the invisibility to indignity, accessing governance gaps in post-disaster sanitation recovery and right to dignity in the climate-affected coastal India.
Pastor. Um, well, I'm not an academician, so I'm a practitioner. So I'll start off by telling you a story, and my presentation is actually a story. And my story starts here. This is an island in the Indian Sundarbans. This is Bay of Bengal. In the year 2007, some of you will perhaps know Robert Chambers. You've heard of Robert Chambers, and you've heard of Kamalkar. That's when we had thought ki Kamalkar had done Bangladesh, and we had challenged him. We said, "You are from West Bengal, Kolkata. What's happening?" He had done something in urban. So between Robert, Kamalkar, and I was with Goal, an organization, we said, let's see if we can use this method. And we did a fantastic program with the district magistrate involved, and we took the sanitation ladder as we understood then, from to basic. People were defecating in the open, we took them to basic sanitation. We were all very happy. Then the SBM came upon. We were very happy now from basic, people are moving to safely managed. Unfortunately, we didn't, at that point of time, we never thought of climate. And this was immediately after COVID, 21, Cyclone Yash. And what Cyclone Yash was brought something new to us, which is coastal flooding. It's not fluvial floods. Coastal flooding is almost like tsunami, but it's a different kind of a thing. And it just washed away everything. And we were like, oh, what do you do? So we were, and things like this, you can understand. Where's the sanitation? Forget it. Everything is, on the ground. So we were waiting for the government to think about it, and what is the response the government is looking after this. Interestingly, the government did nothing with respect to sanitation. They repaired roads, houses, electricity, all that kind of thing, but sanitation was never an issue. So we started, trying to follow what was happening. So in, as I said, 21, these were tidal surges over 4 meters. And Sundarbans, if you are aware, people are below the sea level because the earthen embankments are protecting them. So, and there was all of a sudden very heavy rainfall along with the cyclone and the tidal surge. We did an assessment in 23, and we found that large number of households did not have latrines. Health workers reported, episodic dysentery, not the cholera and major kind of thing, but there were issues. And in 24, we further did a study using the JMP framework to find out what was the status of public drinking water points. And we found over 48% demonstrated fecal contamination. Then in 25, we did a more exploratory research with women who were without a latrine kind of thing, and also included health workers and the panchayat and the ministry and the SBM office and all that kind of thing. And meanwhile, from 21 and even today, 26, the panchayat is still classified as ODF plus. India is ODF plus. Since 2019, must have been slippages, there must have been so many episodes in between, but has that moved? That has not moved because we are not measuring slippage. And I think that's where the problem starts. The government of India, the Ministry of Jal Shakti, brought out the first disaster management plan in 23. And it said something about flexi funds, and then it talked about SDRF and NDRF response funds. Now the fact is that we found that the post-disaster needs assessment, which states do after a disaster, sanitation is not even included in this. They can look at water, but sanitation is not there. Flexi funds, the government says in case of little events, panchayats, others can, manage, they can access the flexi funds. When we went and discussed, we found that even the mission director did not know how to access flexi funds at the state level. So, I mean, this is a complex situation where we are, and then of course the catchphrase, leave no one behind, dignity of women. These are the messages we did actually promote when we did sanitation. We all started with women and dignity of women, right to sanitation, leave no behind, etc. And then, I mean, where was all that? It simply became a rhetoric kind of thing about saying something else and something else was happening. So, yeah, and the Gram Panchayat still, the flooding and, it's intensified more. You don't have the tidal surges maybe, but you have episodic flooding because sudden precipitation with climate change. And these are coastal areas, so at the front line of climate change, if you're talking of anyway. And the number of people with access to safe sanitation continues to drip. Now, I think just to give you an idea, on the left, that's the island. It's a map. And the red is actually the inundation. Okay, sorry. And the red dots are actually, this was an inundation map. The quality is slightly poor, sorry. I think there was one slide before that. Okay, right. Okay, so this was the red things, this was the inundation maps. You could see the whole of the island was inundated kind of thing. And when we did some, we focused on the most affected area kind of thing, trying to find out, one paper got lost. Okay. Now, of course, these are some of the research questions which are basically bullshit. Some of the things that we found when we talked to women, they were simply disgusted, if there's a better word for that. And in a particular situation like this, they don't even want to talk about it because they see practically no solution to that. In fact, women don't even talk about their issues because their men are busy fending for the family. So sanitation, my problem is like adding on another problem. And they really didn't want to talk about it. It's been years now and nobody asks them. That is one. The other something which is, I think, very critical here is that who is responsible in the Indian scenario for talking about wash? ASHA workers. I mean, poor women, I would say. I mean, they, in this scenario where there's nothing clear about where the money is going to come from, where is the framework, what is the governance thing, they say that they go and ask whether a household uses soap, whether the household uses sanitation, but actually they don't, because the women is going to say, are you going to provide my sanitation? Are you going to provide the soap? So they report everything's fine. And putting it on their shoulders is just, I think, what's in, somebody was asking incentive. BWSC and all these things. On good faith, I mean, who's going to do it? I mean, none of us would do it, honestly. So, you know, we leave it to, let's say, chance, I would rather put it. If somebody somewhere does a good job out of it and things like that. So, and the other thing, I think trivializing the whole matter, and this is where I hold institutions like UNICEF and others, and this has become a joke almost. Flood, simple, raise your toilet. How much? How much do I raise it by? So if I go to you and ask you, you will say, oh, last time the flood was still here, right? Somebody would say it was still here. And the worst thing is, the data that we are using for digital elevation maps, you are aware of it, we are using SRTM maps, space radar topographic mission, which has an elevation bias of up to 10 meters. And construction cost of a toilet, if you have to raise it by even a few inches, is off the charts. So how do you even prepare a design to say, this is how we are going to fix the problem? And so UNICEF is more interested in, you know, compendium of flood-proof and all these kind of designs. Bullshit. This has got to be much more serious. Anyway, we can get to the solution some other time, but my time's up. So it's essentially, I think, something that we are not addressing the way we should really be doing it. Because at the end, and oh, another one thing, sorry, I'll take it. The public health outcomes of the SBM and the JJM also by WHO, UNICEF, have been monetized into 55,000 rupees per family, etc., all that kind of thing. But that assumes 100% cohort behavior. Now, if it is 95, what happens? Does that, nobody is talking about it. You know, most of the reports by Spears and others, these assume 100% cohort behavior. So few households not doing it, does that matter? Because it does. It affects everyone. Anyway, thank you. So, questions?
Thank you so much, sir. We are open for questions.
So I am Shraddha from WaterAid, and in Odisha we are working on this climate resilient aspect. So my question here is, did you get any solution to it, like how to build a technology-based IHHL that would be climate resilient, climate adaptive?
Yeah, we went, and that's another good question, because we went with a solution, talking about it was not enough. For that, we would have to do very good high resolution topographic surveys, right? Expensive.
Yes.
That's where even our mission director, we even sent in our application to the WASH Innovation Hub, the sustain. Paisa nahi hai. Because these are expensive. We'll have to do, it's the same VRA only, but you have to layer it. You'll have to do a high resolution, you'll have to validate it with participatory mapping, and then prioritize it within the government plans. So we can discuss further, but nobody has the money.
Yes. So currently we are we are doing this IHHL at the household level, like we are demonstrating the model to the district administration regarding the septic tank or the biodigester tank. So my second question is, uh, during the natural calamities time, the people must be rehabilitating to somewhere else. It might be an institution, or there are we focusing, like there the West Bengal government is focusing building climate resilient was infrastructure during this climate emergency. Yeah.
I've built a few, I mean, septic tanks and other things which, other things. No, they overflow and flood, so you are getting fecal load back into the environment. And it doesn't care if it comes from his or his or his, it's in the environment. And we found very strong correlation with soil transmitted helminths. And that's bloody dangerous. And for people, rural people who walk barefoot, children who walk barefoot, it's a larvae. Deworming programs, I don't know how many schools and, other health facilities have deworming programs. So it's the fecal load back into the environment. That's what we should be careful about. And that, I knew, it's much bigger.
Time constraint. Okay, so next we invite Mr. Basil Agoha. Uh, he is an associate professor of architecture and has PhD in architecture, specializing in urban design, formal associate dean, Faculty of Environment Sciences, and Department of Architecture from the fellow Nigerian Institute of Architect. And he is going to present today on the topic of reimagining community-based climate, urban water supply sanitation governance in Owerri Municipal Local Government Area in Nigeria.
Thank you. I've also just been appointed Director of Center of African and Black Studies in the university. So the African and Black societies, morphologically and sociologically, are organized from the family, kindred, village, community. And when you have an urban area, you now have a heterogeneous society, but otherwise, from the community to the family, the system is very, very homogeneous. And again, in planning-wise, fiscal planning-wise, you have the rural areas, the semi-urban areas, suburban areas, and then urban areas or cities. From semi-urban, or as you move from rural to semi-urban, the heterogeneity continues to increase. And with that heterogeneity comes the problems we have in the society. If you talk about climate change, talk about sanitation, talk about water problems, as they move from rural to urban areas, the problem increases. Just like my colleague was talking about, in any African society or black community, you see this system working, and everything about governance, leadership, like he was talking about chiefs and women, are organized in such a way that these things are properly taken care of. But when the problem now becomes in the Owerri Municipal, which is the capital city of Imo State government, as an urban area, the planning did not integrate the homogeneous morphology of the rural community or the indigenous community. And that is how the problem of sanitation, water, and what we call climate change came about. So the presentation is organized in this form. And theoretically, the typical African community is based on communal lifestyle or communalism, where every person is involved and takes part, from children to women, youth, the chiefs, and what have you. Everyone is involved in urban governance. But when you move into the city situation, and this system is not integrated, you start having problems. And that is the problem of most urban areas in Africa and cities. So brief history of Owerri. We try to look at the Owerri municipal. When it was a rural community, they were using the two streams, the Mori and Otamiri. Like somebody said, I think Jen, they used to fetch water, and the stream was very clean, no problem, no flooding, no sanitation problem. But the pre-colonial administration came in, and the Wori and Otamiri rivers and ecology was tampered with as a result of urbanization. So the colonial masters heightened it when the provincial headquarters came into Owerri. The post-colonial continued with that system, and progressively the water system, the toilet system, the pollution and the erosion the problem continues to increase until right now. The issue of the problems we have increased so much that even the control and the financing becomes a problem. To even organize that original African system became a problem, because in that original African system, the family, the communities organized as age groups where individual levels, based on age, they have a role to play in cleaning the environment, in taking care of sanitation, taking care of everything. But with urbanization that has not integrated that system, the problems were compounded, and funding became a problem. So the compressor, even though they have vaccination, they have public awareness, but the whole thing has been reduced to nothing, and they are unable to now control the system. So the city brought in the Twin City Master Plan that also heightened the problem. The Twin City ran across the old Owerri and the new Owerri and became a problem. So the traditional communities of village communities of Owerri, the 5 traditional communities of Owerri, they were destabilized. The headquarters of the provincial area became a problem, highly urbanized, without the integration of the traditional governance system and leadership system. The flood water, the ecological system, because the forest areas were cleared, the waterfronts were all destroyed, and then erosion, flooding became a problem. Even the highest points, which is the Chukwemeka, that is the highest point, was almost destroyed, because most of the water flew from there into the 2 streams. Then we have, because of that destruction, we now have artificial ponds where water collects, and then you have a lot of environmental problems, especially malaria, because the stagnant water carries vectors. That became a problem. So this is the Twin City. The right is the old Owerri, the left is the new Owerri. Then this is the stream, the water stream that's pervaded the whole place, and that has been destroyed. Even the waterfront and the forest areas are no more there. So the problem of effective inclusivity for the wash system that was in existence before the Owerri urbanization became a problem. Then people now started having individual boreholes, even though in 1985, the integrated water system there was an attempt to have a municipal integrated water system, municipal wastewater collection system. It never worked. But before then, the issue of community organization of water, sanitation, and everything was working. So the integration became a problem. So the natural water supply became a problem. The highlands density became a problem. Artificial water bodies now became prevalent. Underground water drainage became a problem. The water reticulation and rainwater harvesting all gone because of urbanization. Then you have gully erosion, land weathering and wetland ecosystem destroyed as a result of urbanization because the natural traditional African governance and leadership system and environment was not integrated in the planning of what they call formal urban planning. Open defecation became a problem. Like this is a water body that is prevalent in the municipality as a result of lack of destruction of natural water flows. So the infrastructure became inadequate because the system has been destabilized. And the people who are leading under the formal sector they don't know how to control it. Poor governance system became a problem because instead of management of the environment and this system from bottom to the top, they now manage from top to bottom. And the thing never gets down to the community because many times how to control and evaluate or even enforce most of those decisions became a problem. Behavioral change, implementation, community participation, using the sociological morphology or hierarchical system was gone. So that became a problem. Then we now recommend that to actually go back or try to reduce the problems, they need to integrate the traditional governance system. And for new cities that are springing up, ab initio, the urban and regional planning, the formal sector has to integrate what they call the informal morphological system, so that if the people are carried along, the age group system, the women, the communities are involved in enforcement, in raising funds, and managing these things as their own, because that is the system in African societies and communities. And I understand that there's a community here that's, we have African community here. If you go there, you see those elements that are communally based, which are still effective in African societies. So we recommend that they need to create agricultural systems, urban forest systems, try to start reintegrating those things that were gone and into smart cities, because what they could have done was to upgrade that traditional system instead of destroying it. So anywhere this upgrade is not done, and then you try to import what is new, always has a problem. And so those are the recommendations, but the major issue is that we need a governance system that recognizes the community and then tries to integrate whatever they have. So the community level is at the bottom, and things move from the bottom to the top instead of coming from the top to the bottom, which doesn't work in the African system. Thank you for listening. These are the acknowledgements.
Thank you so much. I think in interest of time, we will take the questions after both the last presentation. So we'll take together both the session question. Thank you. We'll take after this presentation. Yeah, we'll take together. So now I welcome Ms. Snehalatha. Snehalatha is an associate professor at Administrative Staff College of India with over 24 years of experience in water sanitation, environment, sustainable livelihood, and climate responsive wash system. Over the past decade, her work has focused on influencing policy and practice to advance inclusive, equitable, and sustainable wash outcomes. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is the last presentation. I know how difficult it is to retain your interest for this presentation, but it's slightly different from my earlier presenters, which were focusing on community participation and all those things. I'm looking at, in this presentation, we are trying to look at the future, and then if the future has to be bright, what kind of initiatives that one needs to take. So we try to look at those aspects in this presentation. I will be slightly rushing the slides. Please do not mind, because I also have a flight to catch. And that relaxes you that this session will go faster. Right, how do I do this? It's not happening. Okay, I won't go into this. You all know this. The global water scenario is becoming worse. There are more red areas coming up, which includes India as well, and then most of the African countries that my colleagues were presenting here, my earlier presenters were doing it. As there is a high withdrawal, the groundwater source is also becoming scarce, and which also scares us, right? Then in India, you see there are so much of highly to extremely high water stress areas. And the Niti Aayog report says that we are going to have all the dry cities, 20 plus cities are going to go dry, including all these top metro cities that we are talking about, where people are going every day and then, getting settled there. The issue is, the more urbanized we are becoming, the less better service providers we have become. So less better services, and then because of all these things, again, the GDP loss, ultimately all this water scarcity or water availability, all that is again going back to your economy. Your water is directly related to your economy, because not only it's for agriculture, industry, and then all those things, but also the health of the people. That water sanitation link that we have to keep it in mind. And then, as my colleague Chaudhury sir, Sujoy sir was talking about, that health is going to be one of the aspects, whether it is climate, whether it is waterborne diseases, whatever it is, ultimately all goes to GDP loss. So we have to be very, very careful about this. And then another direct impact of this climate change or this water scarcity is that cities are going farther and farther to bring the drinking water. The Patrick was mentioning Hyderabad is going 200 kilometers, but there are other cities which are going 400 kilometers also. There's Delhi, there is Chennai, there is so many, all big cities. Instead of thinking what to do, they are going further distances, putting more pipelines, putting more money, and then bringing all the way from there, where again, because of the leakages of the pipelines, you have so much of NRW also, the non-revenue water also. So there is, one, you're investing high, two, you are getting losses, three, just in case if something happens there, your entire city is affected, or there is no drinking water in the city. So that is the kind of challenge, but we are round and round. We are thinking about only those solutions, and then going more further. Where will the water be? If you go further, do you think there are more rivers coming up? There are more water bodies coming up? No. So what should we be thinking? This is all for my younger generation who are sitting here, who are the future ambassadors for the water. Please do think over it. And then one solution that we were thinking of could be reuse of used water, or the treated used water. Can that be an option? Can that be a solution for some of these things, where non-potable water could be supplied through this treated used water? And then there are cities which have done, again, why I'm saying this treated water use, there's a huge potential. As somebody in the morning, we keep drinking water, we keep defecating, and then the sewerage water will always be there. So that water is present. Even this water is scarce, but then this water is going to be there. Whatever that water is supplied, 80% of it goes as a sewer water, and then you can recycling it. Again, 80% of that water will be available for us. So this is much more a permanent solution than going to a farther distance and then bringing the water. So just we're thinking, and what is the potential? So I don't know whether, where's this pointer? Pointer. This one is the pointer. Okay. So this much MLD is getting generated, and we have got only less than 50%. Only 40% we have created capacity. because finance is an issue. Out of that 44% created operational facility is only 37%. And out of that, what actually being treated is only this much. And out of this, don't ask me the reuse. It is less than 1% of that treated water. That's why I didn't want to put the disappointing picture here, but then there is a potential. There are certain case studies, there are some good things that are happening. And then there is a lot of potential. That's what that I would like to make with this slide. And then to do that, we have got a very good environment. There are national policies are there. There are state policies are there. The environment to encourage the reuse is already available in terms of these many policies. Environmental policy is there, urban sanitation policy, and then the most important thing is this one, which is newly added, that is the power tariff one, which we were not really doing it. It was there somewhere in the files, but then we recently discovered that this says that industries, whichever industries, the cooling or those industries, they have to compulsorily use industrial water for their consumption. Non-potable water, they have to compulsorily use only treated water. So these are all the provisions that are given. Similarly, there are provisions for the decentralized treatment plants also, like in the building apartment complexes and all those things. We can have a lot of provision, and the policy provision is also there. So what I'm saying is there's a scarcity, there is an opportunity, and then there is infrastructure availability, and then we need to potentially use that using these policies, which are currently not being happening in the way it needs to be. So despite all these policies and all these things, we try to look at, are there any cities which are doing a good job in terms of reuse? So we scanned through about 20 cities where they were reporting, about the good practices on the reuse. So we just tried to put it, these Surat, Nagpur, Navi Mumbai, Visakhapatnam, Bangalore, as it is. Gujarat has so many good stories out of all the cities. Surat and especially Nagpur, they have done an exceptional job in terms of these things. I'm not going to go into the details because already she showed me 3 minutes left. So I'll try to close it. I'm not going into the details of these things, but then if you look at it, all of them have used the treated water as one of their best possible solution. When it comes to Visakhapatnam, they went to industrial use, and then they've even laid pipeline. The government invested the pipelines and put it because they were getting money out of it. There was revenue that is available out of this treated water. So they went into it. You can read this presentation later anyway, they'll be available, so I'm not going into the details. Then there is Surat I was talking about because of the textile industry, a lot of industrial use is there, so that treated water use was easily sold, and then Surat was getting 60% of their revenue through this treated used water. It is one of the richest municipality that you can talk about. Okay, these two, Visakhapatnam and Surat, and to some extent Nagpur, all of them are doing for industries. Nagpur especially is for a thermal industry. So they have different cases with the use cases for the industries. But when it comes to Mumbai, they are doing for climate resilience. They are creating something called sponge cities for the climate resilience, and then they are acting as water bodies for recharge. Then when it comes to Bangalore, Bangalore has a very sad story because last summer they have become completely dry, and then they had to declare holidays and they had to really struggle. And that's when they thought that reuse could be one option, and then they started, and fantastic initiatives are going on. Even the tankers are supplying the treated water to the construction agencies, to all those non-potable users this water is being. But the trick for all these things is maintaining the standard. Please don't say that I've asked that, water reuse has to be there. But yes, to do that, we have to have good standards, and then we have to maintain those good standards. And then Hyderabad also is doing, despite going farther distances, they are also trying to do a good job in terms of providing it for things. So how did these cities do? What did the miraculous things that happened? We try to analyze some of these things. Then we also added some research into it, and then our own practical experiences on the ground. We put together a model framework where we are trying to say source restriction should be there. Unless until you restrict the source, the groundwater, there has to be a restriction on that. New industries, don't give them permissions to dig the bore wells. Give them this used water. Similarly, for existing industries, in case if they are for non-potable use, you need to give some time for them to come to this level. Let them create 1 year infrastructure or that transition, and then make sure that they don't use the groundwater. Same thing for commercial entities. And then for all those construction activities, government departments, we need to start using or the restriction of groundwater. Then only they will start using the treated water. Same thing for your horticulture, your median plantations, your parks, your road development activities, your groundwater recharge. All these activities, you don't need fresh water. The treated water can be possibly used, and that's where you have to, once you restrict the source, then it is possible. Then mandatory use. Yes, next 2 minutes. Mandatory use, you have to make sure once the source has to be restricted, 2, you have to give them mandatorily for all those things, and then you have to have some principles of allocation. Then this is what I was talking about, very, very important. You need to maintain the standards. Depending upon the type of the industry that is being used, you have to supply them with that kind of quality of water. And then comes your the most important thing is having an institution for this. Don't expect the current system to run this. It will not happen. You have to create within that institution, institutional structure, which can take care of this circular economy, which you can name it as circular economy unit, and then you can take it. Community is the forefront, so you have to ensure the community, that means all of us have to be aware of it. And then all of us have to be completely aware. And then in that process, I just want to give one small example for 1 second, and then I'll do. I went to Netherlands for the first time in long back. I think it's almost 2002 or something. So there, I went upstairs. There are no porters, nothing, no one to take your luggage or anything. Everything you have to. Those days, you didn't have these trolleys or wheels, whatever. So I had to really take those 2 bags, which were quite high, because you had to carry a lot of thermal clothing and all that. So I went there finally, and then 3 floors. There's no porter. There's no one at the hotel. You have to take all those 3 floors. You have to climb up. After going there in the room, I didn't find water. What happens to our hotels? When we go to the hotel, what do you find? There's a water bottle. So I was looking entire, hotel room. Where's the water bottle? Then there's no water bottle. I called the reception. I'm not finding the water bottle here. So what water bottle? You have to come down and take the water bottle. No, I said, how do you drink the water? You don't keep water in the hotel? I said, no, it is there. The glass is there. You please drink. Where is the glass? It is there inside your washroom. I said, washroom? Yes. Where is the tap, drinking water tap? No, you drink from there, which is the sink. What? Yeah, how does anyone drink from a tap which is in the washroom, which is used for your other purposes? I said, no, that's our good quality water you have to drink. But my mindset, what I'm talking about, that community awareness thing I'm talking about, I couldn't drink. I walked down all the 3 stairs, took the bottle. When I took the bottle, then it got pitched to me. It was 5 euros. At that time, it was about 600 rupees, where our water bottle was 5 rupees. So where is 600, where is 5? My heart was broken. But anyway, that first time I did it. But from the next day onwards, the same bottle I used to fill and then do it. But till that time, that was the first visit. But now I drink water from everywhere, even the recycled water, and I'm fine with it. Thank you very much. That's the lesson for us.
Thank you. Now we will take 1 or 2 questions for both Ms. Snehalatha and Mr. Basil. Yeah.
Okay, so in Nigeria's context, I wanted to find out what are the key performance indicators for climate resilience and community washed management, management system, and how can they be scaled?
Like I said earlier, yes, the communal lifestyle system is still working in the rural or semi-urban areas. So the suggestion or the proposal is for the rural areas that are emerging cities. These systems should be integrated instead of ignoring them under the guise of formal planning. But in the Owerri city, where you still have the indigenous communities, they should be encouraged because the communities are still there because they have what they call CDC, that's the Community Development Associations. But intentionally, they have to be recognized and given some responsibilities. And when you give them those responsibilities, they will now demand or request certain things like the waterfront, creating an urban forest where they can still plant some of those indigenous trees. There are community squares where they can plant some of those things. They are still there. Then where you have these floods, they can convert them into artificial ponds that is taking where they are taken care of with green areas and plants done in those instead of leaving them as they are now. So what I'm saying is that wherever you have African community, this communal lifestyle, that's development from below, is there. So formal planning will just come and ignore them. So it's not proper. Where they are ignored, let them integrate them as much as they can. They will contribute in funding, in governance, in enforcement of these regulations. Like if they see somebody who is open defecation, even security, they have a system of regulating those things and punishing them. So that was intentionally they should be recognized. That's the issue. Thank you.
Any other question? I don't think anybody has question. Okay.
You said you had to do reviews of the policy documents and regulations to find exactly what the points were, which can be brought into action. So just wanted to hear more about that experience alone, how you could bring out those questions, and how did you, were you also involved in convincing the government? How was the process?
No, this is just a model framework. Okay. We haven't. We tried to submit, we submitted this to the government. The government is reviewing. But every state has a policy. Even Gujarat has a policy, Maharashtra has a policy, every state. So we tried to look at the provisions of what is there in the policy. But then nowhere they were talking about the source restriction. That is when we try to bring that component in. Mandatory use, yes, for the plantations and those things. But this is where we try to kind of analyze the policy and then brought what is to be done based on our research and other experiments. There's a very good examples of decentralized decentralized treatment plants where the apartment complexes are using double plumbing system and then they are putting it for flushing and other uses. And then their freshwater sources were decreased by 60%, which was a huge saving for the apartments, which are more than 150, 200 apartments where people were residing. So some of these practical examples and then the existing policy reviews we tried to look at and come up with this. It is under the review of the government. It takes some more time, but we are pushing it. As someone saying in the morning there, patience, perseverance, that's what we are trying to exhibit. Yes, they are very interested. But look at the system strengthening we are talking. How many players we have? You have politicians, you need to be convinced. You have administrators, you need to convince. You have to convince people. You have to convince all the middle-level managers, because if your file has to reach, it has to be first convinced by that first middle manager who sits there. So that's where we are. We have gone. It has gone to the principal secretary. Let us see. It will take time. Patience, perseverance. I believe in it. Thank you.
Stay here. We have a group photo. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all our speakers and audience for this insightful session. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and may I invite all the speakers for a group photo.